Howdy. Welcome to Rebuilding Hollers, come hell or high waters. My name is Stephanie Johnson, and I'm your host for the evening. Tonight we have our most special guest, my personal hero, our sheriff, Shane Hilliard. Thank you so much for joining us
Thanks for having
today.
me.
I'm so glad that you decided to join us. Y'all know you've heard me talk many times over the last almost 10 months that Sheriff Shane Hilliard is my hero. And he knows that. I tell him often too, but now you know for sure. And so I wanted to tell y'all, I wanted y'all, everyone to get to meet Shane. He's always busy taking care of our county, taking care of our community. So Shane has been our sheriff since 2022. And I'll never forget the first time I met him. I have to tell this story. He said it's okay. So we were at a crafts fair and it was the year of the election. And I just walked up to the sheriff's booth and introduced myself. And I said, well, Shane, I said, how do you feel about guns? And he said, well, I want every single citizen in my county that can legally own one to own one. And I never remember, I never forget thinking, why is that? Why? And he said, well, our county is so big that if something happens, you're going to take care of your situation before I can get there. I'm coming to do the paperwork. And that was so powerful to me because that let me know that he knew that things could happen out in the community and he wants our community to be able to protect itself and our neighbors to protect themselves. And boy, did we need that after the storm.
Yeah.
So Sheriff Hilliard has had so much has happened. So I'm going to let him tell us about it, but just know that he's my hero. And I'm so honored that you're here and will share some of your time with us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So the night of the storm, it started that night and then evolved into the morning is when it really kept getting worse. Tell us a little bit about your evening and how that was looking.
Okay. So that Thursday night, we kind of sent everybody home that had worked Thursday day. And I told them, I said, go home, pack your toothbrush, maybe some medication. It looks pretty bad. We may be out for a day or so.
Yeah.
So we all come back, around 10 o'clock on Thursday night. And, Thursday night was nothing worse than what we had seen before.
Right.
We had some minor flooding going on, but again, we'd seen worse at that time. But as the night went on, things kept getting worse. And, we're at the command post and I was there with EMS director was there, emergency management, some county commissioners, county manager. So we're all there and things keep getting worse. And we're, telling residents, if you live in these certain areas, you need to think about evacuating or evacuate and actually going knocking on some doors and telling them. And then, daylight rolls around and things change rapidly. That's when it really got here. And I've never seen, of course, as everybody who was here witnessed, the water rise that fast and that much wind and everything that come along with it, the trees down, the power lines. And so that morning, I remember, so my parents live on the river, on Salto River, and I texted them, I talked to them, I guess, sometime right around daylight. They said, we're thinking about leaving. It's getting pretty high here. And I remember texting them, I don't know, about 7:30 that morning. And I said, you probably should leave. It's getting bad. And the storm ain't even here,
right
at that point. And they never received the text because cell phones was starting to fail at that point. And so the morning unfolds and we're out, it's just crazy. You can imagine everything, trees down, the houses flooding right there in Main Street in Burnsville. We're pulling people out of houses and we really couldn't. So there was deputies in all the communities, but we were all cut off from each other.
Right.
The ones of us in town couldn't get out of town. The ones out of town couldn't get into town.
Right.
So just kind of everybody fending for themselves. And
then communications failed.
Yeah, communications failed. Cell phones totally, they go out, 911. I was in the 911 center, and the phones are ringing like I've never seen before. It's just one call after the other, people calling for help. And then all of a sudden, it's like the light switch went off. All those stopped. And that was when 911 had failed. And there was a time there from when our 911 center, the lines failed, that still some people would have random cell phone service, and their calls would go to Madison County or Mitchell County or even down in the eastern part of the state to a 911 center. And then they would try to relay it back to us, but our phones was down.
Right.
So, it was very difficult. That was not on anybody's radar that the phones was going to fail.
Right. And that had to have been just apocalyptic to be standing there knowing everybody's in an emergency, everything's going crazy, and then silence.
Yeah, then just silence.
I remember when you first told that story at one of our very first community meetings, and I just sat there and cried, like thinking how catastrophic that must have felt to you, because you're inside trying to get everybody help, and then you can't reach your deputies, you can't reach your neighbors, you can't reach your parents.
Yeah.
Like, what's next? What happened next?
Yeah. So then we were out. We had this, we refer to as the MRAP vehicles, a surplus military vehicle.
Yeah.
It can go through about 4 foot of water.
Okay.
Pretty big old armored, vehicle. But we can't even get past, we can't get up 80 South in it. We can't get past Michaelville at that point. We go to Riverside. We can't get past Riverside Bridge. And we're just kind of like on an island.
Right.
And I remember me and EMS director talking back and forth on the radio, like, we're going to have to set up our hospital because we're stuck.
Yeah.
Like, we're stuck here. And because at that time, radios was working, so we could talk back and forth somewhat at that time. And then, so I realized, like, this is, we've never seen nothing like this before in our lifetime. I thought, we've got to have help. And so I come back, and we're at the command post, and miraculously, I'm able to get a phone call out to Raleigh.
Yeah.
Of all places, one call. And I'll never forget that phone call. And even the director of the Sheriff's Association, he talks about that to this day. I called him and I said, I need help. And he said, tell me what you need. I said, personnel, chainsaws, and MRAP or Bearcat type vehicles. And he said, I don't understand. He said, most of the time those are used for hostage situations. And I said, you don't understand, it's a war zone here. I said, there's nothing, regular vehicles will not go right now. And he's like, where do I send them? I said, just tell them to come, they'll find us.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
Yancy County, come to Yancy County.
Just come here where they'll find us.
Yes.
So sure enough, that phone call miraculously, and I told him on the phone, I said, I don't know if you'll be able to get back hold of me.
Yeah.
And he said, they're in Raleigh, so they don't realize that, like, we've lost communications. And he said, which he tried several times to get back hold of me, unsuccessful till, we finally got Starlink. But, so sure enough, the cavalry came.
They did come. 18 counties.
Yeah, so they came and, stayed with us till the first agency was on scene that day and left, I think, the week of election in November. So
wow.
we had, lots of help for a long time.
Yes. And they were our heroes. I remember them coming through Rose's parking lot, and I was always so excited to see them.
Yeah.
And they were so kind, and they were so happy to be here.
Yeah.
But Yancy County's massive.
Right.
For our small remote county, we are massive, and it can take an hour and a half to get from the back of Busick, all the way up to Huntdale.
Right.
That's a long ride.
Yeah.
And then all the roads in between are destroyed.
Right.
So that was miraculous.
Yeah.
I think God did that.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, there's the only phone call that I got out that day.
Yeah.
After the phones went out.
Yeah.
And they went through and we was the first county to get a call out for help.
Yes.
Most of the counties was in the same situation as us. So we got that call out and the help started arriving, and those guys were amazing. I mean, they done everything we asked them to do, from running chainsaws to delivering food and gas and whatever.
And hitting the different. So as it evolved, Rose's parking lot was in town. So like Brandon and Jonathan, they were coming and check on us sometimes hourly. Yeah. Which was so wonderful. The police presence and the sheriff's office presence was huge, because it's like we were being invaded.
Right.
And so many people were so kind and wonderful and bringing good supplies. But then we ran into people that were not. Sure. They were not okay. So knowing that was a God call, you knew what to do. That's why it's always that's one of my favorite stories. Is you knew exactly what to do. You called and said, "Come help us," and they came. And they stayed. And that was a big deal. I'm so proud of you. I know I tell you that all the time, but I am forever so proud of you. If I ever am emailing the president, it's you need to bring my sheriff up there because he's my hero. So we're so thankful with that response of how you did that and how that went. How did it? Let's talk a little bit about your deputies. So we had 5 deputies lose their homes.
Well, employees. Some of them were, detention officers and telecommunicators. Yeah. So, and that was another thing. I mean, there were some of them, they never missed a day's work and didn't even have a home to go to.
Right.
I remember seeing one of the dispatchers came in. It was that Friday, and he's like, "What do you need me to do?" And I said, "Well, we might need you tonight. Do you want to go home and get some rest?" Or he said, "I don't have a home." He's like, "It's gone." And we had no idea.
Right.
And he said, "I can't get there, but I can see that my home's gone." And he just said, "I'll just work.
I just come to work." And then you had, another deputy was way back in Cattail.
Yeah.
And like unaccessible to get to him. And it's like, and he's one of your buddies. I mean, you know what I mean? I know y'all are a good close group, and I can't imagine thinking how, these are my friends.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was honestly for us that first day, the worst part was, number one, we didn't know if each other had made it through it, and our families, because we couldn't call. It's not like normal. We couldn't pick up and say, "Hey, you okay? Did a tree fall in the house?"
Right.
There was no way to get a hold of them, and we couldn't get to them to check, and that was the worst part. Just the unknown of when you did get home or when you did get in touch with your family. What are you going to find out for yourself?
Exactly.
But God watched over everybody. I mean, as far as the staff goes. Yeah, we lost some homes, but everybody's life was there, so that's the main thing.
And they kept going. They kept working hard. They kept showing up for their county. I mean, even in their home gone, just like with your family. So your mom and dad lost their home.
That's right.
And your grandma lost her home, and your aunt lost her home. And then you have another aunt and uncle that had pretty significant damage.
Yeah.
So like your whole family, his lives are now destroyed. Your whole community is devastated. Most people don't realize that Yancy County was the most devastated.
Right.
We are one of the more remote counties of Western North Carolina, but with over 7,000 structures damaged or destroyed. Roads just gone.
Yeah.
They're just gone. You couldn't get to places. And then the landslides, over 200 landslides. I mean, it was catastrophic in so many levels, and you never stopped. Right. So you finally got a call, and someone was able to get to your family, found out they were okay.
Yeah, actually, remember I was just standing just down the road from here when they got to me on the radio, and they said, first it was, well, we can't find them and their houses are gone. And I still thought, they mean their houses are flooded. They don't mean they're gone.
Right.
And
because you grew up there.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, this is right at Patience Park. So the registering of if their house is gone.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is your childhood home.
Exactly. And so went on, it seemed like for an eternity, and they finally did radio back, the South Toe Fire Department, and they said, we found them, they're safe. So I was like, well, at least they're okay.
Yes.
We'll figure out the houses. And I remember going down there, it was on Saturday night, it was probably about midnight. They finally had a trail up South Toe that you could get a 4-wheel drive vehicle.
Right.
And I got up there and I walked down and I was like, oh my goodness, that they are gone. I mean, there was nothing.
Even the bridge.
Yeah, the bridge was gone. Everything was gone.
Like a war zone.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to some special operations guys that are bona fide operations, and they said that it's worse than any war zone they'd ever seen.
Yeah.
What we were walking into.
Yeah, and we kept hearing that from the search teams that was here initially. We would have them here from Texas, Charlotte, New York, and then Samaritan's Purse and other big organizations.
Right.
They're like, this is the worst thing we've ever seen.
Right.
We've never seen nothing like this.
Yeah.
It was just unreal.
It was crazy. And still you knew exactly what to do. God made you for this. I believe that 100%. You have managed a complete disaster worse than any that has ever hit a mountain county. And you've rocked it the whole way. I'm so proud of you. I'll always be telling you that because I am so proud of you.
I'm blessed. I mean, the Bible talks about such a time as this, and I'm just here for such a time as to lead,
Yes.
a great group of men and women
Yes.
at the ship that are dedicated
and they
out
love
here
you.
doing their job like
Yes.
they always do, and
Yes.
Blessed with the staff I have.
Yes, I think you are too. I love all of your deputies and just everybody. They're all, they're gentle, they're kind, they're loving, and they're very protective.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of that in common, that, we just want to protect our neighbors.
And then the other sheriffs, from across the state. I mean, we had sheriffs all the way from the coast of North Carolina that sent people here,
Yes.
and they experience hurricanes all the time. And they're like, but this is not like our hurricane.
No, because you can't get to people. You can't, our terrain made it impossible. And the amount of rain, we're talking 40 to 60 feet river surges. Your parents' house was so far from the river. Yeah. It's not like you stepped out the door and we're in the river. Right. You would have had to hike through the yard down into the river, So to see that video of that house going was like, wow. Yeah. Wow. And then them and your grandma in her 90s. Yeah. And she had to hike up that hill. But she wasn't done. She said, I got this. Yeah. We're going to rebuild. Yeah. I love that. I love your family. Well, they really are incredible.
Thank you for everything you've done.
Well, it's just, this is the greatest place on earth, and with my background in construction, although I never, in Rose's parking lot, I just wanted, sometimes when I reflect on it, I just needed to make sure my friends were okay, right? After that lady was buying food with quarters, I thought, we can't let people starve. We've got to get them what they need. And then surely someone will come and know what to do. And I can go home. I never meant to. And then, of course, we dealt with some con artists in the parking lot. That seemed to be a hub for them. And when I realized that they were just carrying guns and drunk, so much liquor, so many drugs. And I was like, oh, this is not, I remember texting you, Sheriff, they are not who they're pretending to be. And you were on it. Yeah. And I was so thankful because we've had so many different people come under the guise of help, that weren't. They really weren't. Not to take away from the incredible, I would say 80% were amazing. God sent, want to help us. 80% of the people that came. But there was a pretty big population that came that was not helpful. Yeah. And they not only caused damage, but they were disruptive to your operation, I would assume. Yeah. Trying to have roadblocks and because of the way they were dressed and the way they were behaving, it would be easy for someone to think, oh, they must be law enforcement or they must be search and rescue or they're bona fide. Yeah. But they weren't bona fide. Mm-hmm. They weren't bona fide at all. But y'all took care of that pretty quick. It didn't last for long. Yeah. And
yeah, I remember, me and the mayor talking about, some of the stuff we dealt with after the storm really was just stuff you didn't even think about. It wasn't searching for people. We were doing that, but then it was all this other stuff.
Yes.
And our county went from, we normally have 19,000 people to, I don't even want to guess how many people was here.
So many people. And we're devastated and we're hurting. And then it was like I remember another guy was just saying the other day, it was like a parade of ATVs everywhere. Yeah. I remember people would bring me stuff in the parking lot. And this one guy, I about punched him in the face, but I did it. And he said to me, he brought great supplies, right? Really good supplies. And then he goes, now where can I go see the devastation? Right. And I was so mad. I was like, look online. Yeah. Look online. Don't go back there. That's why we're here. So you don't go back there and disrupt. We've got locals on heavy equipment trying to rebuild our roads. Right. We had so much going on that was not helpful, And plus, mountain folk, you have some random person driving up a driveway to somebody's house. We're not used to that. Right. We're not used to that. So now we went through a storm. There's no power. There's no internet. There's no cell service. There's no credit cards. Mm-hmm. But then people are now where it was just a sleepy, quiet holler, now it's very busy. Yeah. And that was hard and scary for so many.
And then we were having to take manpower away, control access to roads because, people were saying we can't even work on the roads. There's so much traffic.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so we're having to limit access.
Yes.
So we could actually get the roads rebuilt.
Yes.
It was a lot.
But it was the right thing to do.
It was.
You have done the right thing every step of the time, every step of the way. So how do you feel about our county, as we progress and now we've learned so much, right? Like you could write a book. And I've heard that the response to the storm here in Yancy County will write that the new rules or new response book would be written on how the response was done,
Sure.
because clearly it was all on your shoulders, right? Any training you had and any information that God just directly downloaded to you, that's how you knew what to do.
Right.
And so if they write a book on how you handled it and how you responded to it, and the rest of the country could have that insight, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
I've heard that's how they're going to do it, right? Yeah. That because we've never experienced a disaster like this.
Right. Yeah, and that's it's very valuable to reach out to people who's been through something similar, because I did remember, we got Starlink and we had some cell service. I'd met the sheriff of Hazard County, Kentucky, several years ago. We took a couple tractor trailers up there when they got flooded.
Right.
And so I got to know him, and we stayed in touch. And I called him, because they had a really bad flood.
Right.
And I said, "Tell me what to expect. How does this work?"
Right.
And he gave me some really good, this is what to expect next. And then he had some insight. I don't think they dealt with it to the level we did of some of the con stuff that goes on and all that. So it's very helpful to reach out to people that's been through this.
Yes. And I'm so glad you had that, because it is. I mean, you can't just call anybody. You need someone that is in your capacity as the sheriff that understands, And you're right, though. It was also beautiful and also devastating at the same time how the response was. And then we did get a field hospital.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was great.
It was right at Burnsville Fire Department. They're going to still keep a little hub there. They saved me. I got deadly sick like week 3 in the parking lot and couldn't breathe. And I was like, I'm just going to go over to the field. It was in. I was out. I was breathing treatment, antibiotics, back to the field, back to the parking lot, That was really quite.
It was.
And you knew right away. And Christy, she's
isn't
she amazing?
Yeah.
She just had her baby.
Yep, she did.
Oh, what a cutie pie. It's really been so amazing. So let's talk, if you don't mind, a little about, we've touched a couple of times on the scammers, but what can we tell our community? What can we say? Because I'm always saying to people, be aware.
Right.
If someone's on your property, take a picture of their license.
Right.
Ask for their photo ID, because what I'm finding in the rebuild, like there's this one guy that showed up on a project and he said, I'm here to help. And so the homeowner had a bad bill and they said, well, Stephanie at Rebuilding Hollers is helping me go see her. Mm-hmm. Right. So he come in and he was clearly tweaking out.
Right.
He was probably on every drug known to man. And I was like, sit down, stop touching everything. You have to talk to him like it was so weird. But I said, well, who sent you? And he didn't know. Well, who do you work for? Well, he didn't know. Well, who's going to pay you? Well, I'm technically going to volunteer, but what they're doing is they show up on the job. I'm here to volunteer. The homeowner lets them do the work, and then they bill them.
Right.
And they're not expecting a bill. When you say I'm a volunteer, that indicates you're here to help us for free.
Yeah.
Or that some other organization is going to pay the bill.
Right.
Which is so that to find that people are still doing that almost 10 months later has been very upsetting to me. But what is now, and the other day, we had these very weird, and some people look pretty grungy, right? And so you're like we had guys on our road and they said, well, we're with FEMA and we're checking the creeks. It was a Sunday, right? That's not a normal day. They were very strange looking, but I was on my way to an appointment. So I just said to my neighbor, keep an eye on them, and he said, I got their license plate. So I said, okay, good. But then I kind of started panicking later and I thought, oh man, I should have called that one in. If people are, if someone's uncomfortable with someone on their road, or they don't feel like something's just not right, they can call the sheriff's office.
That's right. Absolutely. We'd a lot rather go out and check and it be FEMA, DEQ, or somebody that's legit.
Yes. As
nobody call and it be somebody who's broke into a bunch of houses.
Right.
And we could have called them.
Exactly.
So call us. We can definitely check them out, vet them, make sure they are who they say they are.
Do you want them to call the non-emergency number? Yeah. Just call that non-emergency number and say, hey.
682-2124. Yeah.
682-2124.
Yeah.
That's the non-emergency sheriff's office in Yancy County. So if you see someone that is suspicious, if something's not going on, because we do have a lot of, been one of my big worries. We had, back in COVID, we were about half and half on our population, half second homes, half full-time residents. When COVID happened, we had a lot of people move here.
Mhm.
So it's looking like about a quarter of our population is
Right.
second homes, but that's still a lot.
Yeah.
And so I worry about the homes being empty. People still don't have access to them, and people moving into those.
Right.
So you are always your neighbor's biggest advocate to pay attention. And so I know we had someone try to get up into our neighbor's house, and I was like, I know there's nobody named Miss Shirley up there expecting
Right.
a grocery delivery.
Yeah.
It's okay to ask these questions.
Yeah.
It's okay to say, who are you in my community?
Absolutely.
And that's how we're going to catch them.
That's right.
That's how we're going to get them out of there.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Any other advice that you have for scammers, or what folks can like watch out for, or what's the best way to?
Yeah, I mean, try to deal with nonprofits that are established and
Right.
are legitimate, that's been here, and stay away from these Lone Ranger type that just show up by themselves,
Right.
because most of the time, it's not legitimate.
Right.
And of
'Cause they
course,
could call and
don't
schedule.
hesitate to call. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good thinking. I didn't even think about that, because like we don't go door to door.
Right.
We, when folks need us, they come and see us.
Yeah.
That same with Samaritan's Purse, they have an office.
Yeah.
Same with Baptist on Mission, they have an office. But there are other people that go door to door.
Yeah.
And so really verify who they are,
Yeah.
what they're doing, who they're working for,
So,
because that's been weird. I remember some people that were delivering fuel, and they weren't, or bill
Yeah.
of 3 to 5 gallons. And then that's it.
Yeah.
And that, it's like, what are they doing? Are they just trying to get access to people's property? 5 gallons of fuel is not going to get them through the night, or maybe it gets them through 2
right.
in the winter. But that's always kind of been my
Yeah.
biggest fear is, what are they looking for?
Exactly. And then you have, I just call them floaters.
Mhm.
They show up and they're basically taken from the resources that was donated here,
Yes.
and they pretend like they're trying to help.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you find out they had a camper donated to them. They had all these supplies, and they're from some other state, and now they're,
Here.
Yeah. So watch out for those types.
That has been very difficult. There's one that I call Boohoo. What's her name? And they came from Hickory,
Mhm.
made Boohoo videos.
Yeah.
We're fine in Hickory.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, totally fine. Come here making Boohoo videos, got all the TikToks, got all the clicks, got all the stuff, and then got a camper donated, got a spot to put the camper donated,
Mhm.
and is now a resident here
Yeah.
and still making Boohoo videos about how hard it is living in a camper. Take your tail back to Hickory.
Yeah.
We know how hard it is
Yeah, exactly.
living in a camper. We have, I mean, it's estimated about 300 residents in campers right now, and between Yancy and Mitchell County, and that's a lot. That's a lot of people, and we're all making that hard push to get people home. But the reality is, I know we've got to start prepping for the next winter.
Right.
And that makes it so tough, because really from like December to March, we can't build.
Yeah.
I mean, if we've got a house, if we got the concrete done and the framing done, then we can get the finishing done in the winter. But there's no foundations going on in the winter.
Yeah.
I mean, the winter here it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a hard year for the winter. So we're really praying and pushing hard. Samaritan's Purse, I think, is bringing in 250 trailers.
Oh wow.
So that's pretty exciting. And so we're really hoping to get people in a more permanent situation and out of the camper situation. So that was really good insight. Thank you, Sheriff. How do you feel about, like, with your department and everything today? Is there anything that we could, that I could do to help, or that I could ask, as I meet people? Our sheriffs still need things, and we still are doing things.
No, I mean, I think we're good right now.
Okay.
We had some needs, but
Yes.
they were answered. Just, I don't know if you heard the story, but the one side by side that was donated. Some lady from Memphis, Tennessee called, never been here.
Yeah.
And it's like, she said, it was laid on my heart to buy in something that
God told him to do it.
So, and that thing has been invaluable.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's big, and it can go places and do things.
But yeah, we've been blessed, and we're
Good.
check now.
Great. I love to hear that. I
Yeah.
love to hear that. And so we have done some fundraising for the deputies and your staff that has lost their homes.
Mhm.
But there's a construction company that has one of them down, and I've actually talked to him, so we could offer them support. But if anyone wants to make sure directly to get to your staff, can they go on the website?
Yeah, or just reach out to us directly.
Reach out to the
And we
sheriff's
could-
office
yeah,
directly.
yeah, we could
Okay.
give them a direction.
That would be great, because, a lot of people like to, they like to help the veterans, want to help the sheriff's office,
Right.
so we want to direct anybody that's wanting to direct their funds directly. We want to make sure to get that in those certain places.
Sure.
So that will be great. I'll be so excited
Yeah.
for them to help because I've met them. I love them. I want everybody home.
Right.
We got to get everybody home.
That's right.
Especially people that put their lives on the line for us every single day. And we do. I mean, don't you feel like, Burnsville's changed.
Oh yeah.
Yancy County's changed.
Yeah,
It's been so beautiful to see everybody come and work together, but then we're having some crazy stuff going on. And like where people never knew we existed, so we weren't dealing. I always felt like we lived in a bubble.
Right.
We were safe. We didn't have to lock our doors. We didn't have to worry about anything. And then since the storm, it's like our bubble has been shattered.
Yeah.
And we had, I'll never forget, one of my projects said, Steph, are we just so dumb? And I said, no, you're not dumb. We lived in a bubble.
Yeah.
We were protected by our mountains. We were safe. We didn't have this kind of con artistry here. Just a sweet little back, like stepping back in time, mountain town. And now the floodgates have opened. People have heard about Burnsville and they have come in to take advantage.
Yeah.
And so we're praying hard that God just keeps protecting us and sending people out.
That's right.
And that we would be able to keep moving,
Yeah.
keep going. Is there anything else you would like to share with our community?
No, not that I can think of. Just again, thank you for everything you've done. I mean, it's been a long road from Rose's parking lot.
We've come a long way from Rose's parking lot. That was crazy. That was crazy. And it was a God thing too, because I just didn't want anybody suffering. And then it become, I need to make sure everybody's okay, but I couldn't get to them because I wanted to stay off the road. See, I would go from Lick Skillet to Roses. Lick Skillet, I never went anywhere for 7 weeks. I did not go out into the hollers. And mostly it's because I felt like once I've been seeing online, but I knew once I saw it, my heart would stop. I was like, I won't make it. I'm just going to keep doing this. This will just keep me going. And people would come and I would see them and I would be able to keep them moving forward, get them what they need and keep them moving forward. And then on week 7, I went down Green Mountain and I lost it. Mm-hmm. And that's when I knew this was Steph, this isn't just going to stop at distribution. You've got to do something. You've got to keep helping people, and then God sent building materials. And I'll never forget that day. He sent building materials and I thought, oh God, you want me to get into building materials? Because my background is construction. And I ran from that career because, it's hard to be, you could appreciate this. I equate being a female contractor to being a prison guard. Mm-hmm. Okay. You have to be tough. Right. You have to be a total tough butt. You have to be. And I couldn't flip the switch. Right. So I was tough on the job site, but then I was raising my miracle baby and I was too tough. Right. So I was like, this isn't the life I want. We came here, step back in time, got to be a mom, do all the things. And so construction was not on my mind. I didn't want that. But then 4 hours after I said, God, building materials, 100 doors showed up. Right. What do you say? Yeah. You have to say, okay, here we go. And that's what we've done, so it's all been tiny. It's all been small, but it's as long as people are moving forward and we're keeping their hope up. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're keeping that sparkle in their eye so they know they're not forgotten. They're going to be okay. Right. And I thank you for helping me do that because we're getting it done. Oh, yeah. So this July 25th, we have a benefit rock concert. Actually, tonight, when this airs, will actually be on July 25th. Okay. And so while this is airing, you'll see this, and I'll be at a benefit rock concert for Rebuilding Hollers. Oh, wow. They're calling it Rocking for Rebuilding. Isn't that so cool? And so I'm most excited about that. But so great things are happening. People still want to help us. And so that's part of our podcast is bringing awareness, let them know what's going on and how they can do that. So, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with me. You're my hero. Well, you're my hero. And I want you to keep doing everything you're doing because you're doing it exactly right. I'm so glad you listen to God and let him guide you in your protection of this community because I know we're okay because you're in charge. So I hope you stay in charge for a very long time. That's going to be my plan. Everybody says, Steph, you need to get a politic. I said, my only politic is making sure Sheriff Shane Hilliard stays in office. As long as he's our sheriff, our county is fine. We have nothing to worry about. So thank you very much. So that is all for us this evening. I thank y'all so much for loving me. Thank you so much for loving my community. And I'll see you later. The hardest part isn't the knowing. It isn't knowing everything that you have to do to get everything back right. The hardest part are the memories. Knowing exactly how it used to look before the storm. That's the hardest part.